Welcome to another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on a 45-year-old from Surrey, England. His hockey journey has taken him to England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Slovenia, Luxembourg, and Iceland. He is or was a staple and legend of the Big Blue Tent, but he's best known for his quick whistle and his even quicker tongue, chirping unsuspecting hockey players throughout the EIHL, becoming a legend of the game, and has quite an unorthodox way of breaking up fights. Welcome to the shed, Lee Young.
Oh, thanks, Wally. That was a good introduction. Thank you very much.
You know what? For how much I remember of you and how legendary you were for me, the research team was cold. There wasn't much to find out there.
Really?
I mean, I didn't know where to look. It's not like a player, right?
No, it's not. It's just things that obviously happen on the ice, and things that you remember, things that I remember, and obviously some of my colleagues. There isn't much out there to know or find. Well, at least I hope not. Anyway.
Because I get into how we know each other, and my first game in the Big Blue Tent, I'll never forget it because I was pretty high on my horse coming from the second league in Germany, and Denmark, where I'd ran amok, and I'm thinking, I'm pretty hot shit for the EIHL. Well, that first game in the Big Blue Tent, you let me know exactly where I stood.
Go on, tell me.
I don't remember exactly how it went, but I think I didn't agree with one of your calls on an offside, and I let you know. And then I got kicked out. Every face-off, my centerman would get kicked out. And you ran my show the rest of the game. And I couldn't believe it. You chirped me ruthlessly and then just ran amok with me. And I knew where I stood the rest of the season. I got in line.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously before the warning situation come in, and we were able to conduct our face-offs, and obviously we could kick the centerman out at the time. And
you can't do that anymore.
No, you have to give a warning now, and it defeats a bit of the object, because there's a bit of a story to that from many years ago. There was a player called Jeff Lindsay who played for Peterborough, and I remember he said to me it was a game in Peterborough. And he said to me, "Oh, keep your head up, young. I'm going to shoot the fucking puck at you." And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." So I went over to the ref and I was like, "Look, keep an eye on this guy. He's just threatening to shoot the puck at me." And, the other linesman dropped the face off and Peterborough won it. And it went straight back to Jeff Lindsay. And he looked at me and looked at the puck and he looked again and just shot it straight at me. And the referee didn't call anything. And
really?
I remember the following year, he moved to Manchester Storm, and I think it was Craig Woodcroft, centerman at the time, and it was in Bracknell against Manchester. And Jeff Lindsay skated up to me during the game, and he's like, "Hey, do you remember what I told you in Peterborough?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember." He said, "Well, it's going to fucking happen again tonight." And I'm like, "Oh, right, is it now?" So probably the same situation as you in the BBT. I looked at Craig Woodcroft.
I don't think I was going to do that.
I looked at Craig Woodcroft and I just kicked him straight out the face-off. And he was like, "What for?" And I said, "Well, your D-man, he's threatening to shoot the puck at me again." I said, "And there's history there." I said, "So every time he's on the ice and you end doing another face-off." And
that is a good strategy, though, because then you get a little bit of control, because I did realize if I started chirping you and gumming you after each say blown call, because I was probably right. But like, if I'm going to let you know all season long, then it's going to be a long year for both of us. And when you did that, like, I think I don't know who I was playing with, but you kicked out the centerman and then I got to go in for the D zone draw. And I'm like, I don't want to take that.
Yeah, exactly. No, and the centerman obviously doesn't want to get kicked out either, because especially on a power play or a penalty kill, and that's their job. Then they don't want wingers to be taking them. And Yeah, it was just a quick way to sort of nip anything in the bud, really.
Right, it's something I remember from my first game, so obviously it worked.
Yeah, there's a few like that. It's good. But now we don't get that opportunity now. We have to give the warning, and they
chops the legs out from under you a bit, eh?
Yeah.
Well, the other part I remember though is after that game, because I was buddies with Diesel already at the start of the season, but we were chatting. I'm like, what is with this linesman? Like, he's all up in my grill. He goes, oh, he's awesome. You're gonna love Younger. But then I watched you the rest of the season. We never had another beef really, but I do remember like when you would say something quick back to the guys, and then you just giggle. And I loved it.
I did a story that springs to mind. There was a game in the BBT with I think it had been snowing, and it had taken us, obviously it's just a couple of hours, down the M4. And we got to the rink. It had been snowing. There weren't many people in the arena, and it was literally the first few seconds of the game, and the puck gets rimmed round the boards, and Tyson Marsh was trying to keep it in. It comes out the blue line. He takes it back in. I blow an offside, and he looked at me, and he literally banged his stick on the ice, and he was like, "The bloody crowd didn't come here to watch you." And I looked round just for a second, because there weren't that many people because of the snow. And I said, well, judging by the size of this one, Marshy, they didn't come to watch you either. And literally, he didn't know what to say. And he just stood there, and I was like, oh no, why have I just said that? But yeah, that just sort of, it killed it. And it's never anything personal. It's, just between us two.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's fun in hockey to chirp people, but like, in a fun way, not like,
No, it's
nothing real personal, right? Just like funny stuff. Like squirting in the back of the legs with a water bottle. That's funny.
Yeah, grabbing hold of the shirt just as I'm about to skate away and I can't, he was always doing something, if I'd go to put my arm up for an icing, and he'd grab hold of my shirt and keep the arm down, and I'd be like, oh, he is a funny character.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd get to do that in Graz anymore, eh?
I very much doubt it.
No.
He knew a lot of the boys though on the circuit, so he was comedy gold for us.
Okay, so how we know each other, I guess that year would be about the only year. And then we got in contact through the zebra stampede to the shed, eh? I'm having a lot of them on. So Darns was the first one. Onesy, who can only stop one way.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. Yeah, I thought you'd have to go both ways, right?
Well, you would hope so. You would think so,
right?
I didn't know he could only stop one way.
Well, and then speaking of great skaters, then there's Sam Motts, right? Likes to show off when there's an icing, right?
Yeah,
go get. And then Rosie and Deano were just on from bar 26, was it, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, bar 26.
What a spot. Looks lovely.
So
speaking of the Shed family, right?
Yep.
Deano and I really got to know each other last week in the shed here. And I needed a ride from Heathrow. Guess who's picking me up?
Oh, Deano.
Deano's picking me up. Says he's bringing a 6-pack and we're going to cruise.
Oh, that's good. That's nice. That's not too far from me. Hey, when he's picked you up, come to mine. I'm literally like 20 minutes, half hour away. We'll go and get a beer.
We'll have a beer. See, she's going to be a busy couple days, folks. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's going to be something. But like, that's what I love about this so much. It's like my hockey life was dormant for like 5-6 years. And now I'm making new friends to the point where they'll pick me up from the airport and drive me to Cardiff. Right. And it's chatting with people in my shed and having fun and getting to know people.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because you obviously you spoke a little bit about your story and your career with Matt at the time and Dean on the last podcast, I believe.
Yeah. Well, What did I talk about?
You spoke about, obviously, I think your body is sort of given up before your mind had.
Yeah, well, it's being around the team, being around the guys, and like you wake up and like you got 20 best friends you go to work with every day that are like-minded, and you're trying to win a championship. In the real world, you don't really have those competitive juices every day, right? You wake up, you try and make sure everything goes good. And then you do the best you can, but like you're not trying to win a championship at the end of the year. You're not trying to win a game that day. It's a lot different, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like when I retired and then come back, a lot of people, I retired back in what I thought at the time was the right decision for me. And I walked away from the game. I had a big jersey presentation at the finals weekend, and it was only through the summer that I was like, no, why did I do this? And it was quite a thing to come back, because I didn't know sort of what reaction I was going to get, or and people still take the mick a bit, but obviously they don't realize just how much dedication we put into the sport and how much we love it.
How much of your life and your time it takes up.
Yeah. And like you've got 20 best friends that you go out on the ice with, and they're my hockey family as well. We're a team just as much as the others out there that, are playing the game. We're a team as well. It was after that, the summer had happened, all the signings were coming up, and I was like, man, why did I give this all up? I love the sport too much. And I rung up Simon Kirkham and I was like, hey, if I wanted to come back, is there still a door open? And he was like, yeah, please, come back. And so, yeah, the rest was history.
Well, and that's, I guess, like my knee injury, it takes the second guessing out of it, because I know a lot of guys get to a certain point in their life where they're going to be starting from scratch in the real world. They're going to be starting a job that doesn't pay them as much as a hockey player, but you have to start sometime. But saying no to a contract to do it one more year instead of start the real world is, if your body can still do it, it's really hard to do that. If you're still getting offers and the people still want you,
Yeah.
But
I could imagine.
Yeah, but when the knee goes, then it's pretty well tits on toast. But yeah, so funny stuff. Okay, I'm gonna bring up my real world stuff right now. Is not many episodes this week, folks. Been a busy week. We just had our KPI week, and funny story. I report on my department. All the big dogs are in these meetings. Fire up the video. Didn't mean to. Was in the shed. Backwards hat, Western Michigan Bronco shirt on, and I'm in the middle, or it's right before the KPI starts. I fire up the meeting, and I'm the only one with video, and it's showing me in the shed and with all the big dogs. It was wild.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And what did I say?
Someone wrote to me, "Are you in your garage?" And I wrote, "It's a shed."
Oh,
but yeah, no, shout out to them, because this is my lunch hour, and I'm confident I can do this because I am on salary. And when I signed up for the job, they said this is a 24-hour, 7-day a week job, and I'm good with that. So if I need a lunch to talk, right, I got to take that.
You're allowed to take an hour for lunch,
right? We might not be an hour though, eh?
No, we might not be.
So yeah, thank you to them, right?
Yeah.
Sorry for firing up the video of the KPIs to the shed. Okay. So anyways, the picture I posted and Rosie brought it up in his episode, where you're laying on top of two hockey players and there's a kerfuffle. Rosie's over at another part, and you're laying on two hockey players, like crowd surfing on their faces. And when I posted that, Piglet said that was him.
No, I think it was Batchy.
I thought it was Mitchin by the look of the skates.
No, I think it was Max Perron from
So it
Nottingham.
didn't even mean that much to you when you get yourself right up in their face like that. It didn't even mean that much to you.
No, no, literally, it was Josh Batch and Max Perron. They an incident had happened yet again in the BBT, and they both sort of crashed down to the ice, and I sort of went down to break them up, and they ended up sort of wriggling around underneath me, and I ended up literally on this pivot point on the pair of them where I couldn't go forward and I couldn't go back, and I was literally just stuck on top of both of them, and I couldn't get my skates out. And I remember just looking at both of them, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, guys, but I just cannot move. I was like literally just stuck there, and I'm like, I'm really sorry, I just can't move at all. And
because it did look like your front package was like in front of their faces.
I think it pretty much was for Max.
You were laying on their faces, belly down.
I felt pretty sorry for Max because I couldn't move, and I said and I think there was a tweet that went out, and I think Josh Batch said, I can confirm that Lee Young is very cuddly, and that was all that he said. That was all that he said. It was just a funny incident, and somebody caught it on camera. And
it's a hell of a picture.
Yeah, it's a good picture.
There was a lot of kerfuffles that season with the Devils. There's a video on YouTube of like Devils fights from that season. There's a lot of fighting went on. A lot of fighting.
Yeah, I think one of the games that spring to mind, and it was Benny Olsen ended up getting into a fight with a fan as he was getting off the ice. There was a fan.
Who's
in Cardiff.
Ben Olsen?
He was a D-man for Coventry. Was you there? That's when he must have been.
That name doesn't ring a bell, I don't think.
Well, he was a D-man for Coventry, and it was the year I think they had.
He fought a fan in the big blue tent?
Yeah, the fan jumped. So when they got off obviously at the BBT, so the benches were all that side, because I was on the game that you spoke about where Voff and Knight had the fight behind the benches. I mean, it's probably one of the worst. It was horrible, that fight, because they are two big, tough guys, Voffer and Knight, and they both got kicked off. And obviously the doors were next to the benches. And as Olsen got off the ice, there was obviously the security, wasn't brilliant. And I remember as Olsen got off the ice, a fan jumped over the metal railings and started fighting him against the plexiglass. I'd never seen anything like it. And I think the fan got banned for a season, or I think it was near to the end of the hockey season anyway. But yeah,
I'm not sure if I was there or not, but like it's amazing because those big blue tent nights that season 2014-15 with the Devils, like there was so much stuff going on during a hockey game. The fighting, the scoring, the crowd, everything was just bananas in there.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal rink to go to. I mean, even when I used to do games in the old Ice Arena Wells, the old Cardiff rink that was in the town centre, the atmosphere on those games was just second to none. And sometimes they do make the difference during a game. You even notice it now when they're playing in their new arena. They've got that standing block now.
I've been there.
Yeah, I've seen the photos of you as well. Yeah. But they do make a difference, and
fans make a difference. Fans being loud makes a big difference.
Yeah, and you know what? We get just as carried away. Like we have adrenaline too. So when it's a quarterfinal or a semi-final or even a final, I still get just as nervous as probably half the players do.
Yeah,
and I suppose fans don't really see it like that. You are
like you get nervous that you don't want to screw up or what?
Yeah, it's a mixture. It's all games are important. Like regular season, normally.
I know exactly what you're trying to say. Regular season's boring and playoffs are fun.
Yeah, it is. But,
big games are fun. Right? Sheffield Cardiff is fun. Like,
Yep.
those are fun. Going to play the Hull Stingrays on a Wednesday isn't fun.
No,
Oh.
not all that drive. And
Yeah.
yeah,
The adrenaline doesn't get pumping as much, you could say.
no, it doesn't. And I remember in the old arena, it was Cardiff against Coventry. It was the second leg of the Challenge Cup, and Coventry were winning 3-0. And it was me and Dance. We were traveling down to the game, and I said to him, "Oh, what was the score from last night?" Because we didn't know at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Oh, it's 3-0 to Coventry." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's pretty much a bit of a whitewash, really." And I remember Nathan Rempel, he went out 30 seconds into the game, scored a goal, 3-1. Then he scored one in the second. Then he scores with 30 seconds left in the third period to make it 3-3. And
the same guy did?
Yeah, it was, and the atmosphere in that rink was phenomenal. And I remember it went to overtime. Then it went into a penalty shootout, and I think it was a gentleman called Peter Aubrey in goal. And he'd come out to make a save, and Barry Moore for Coventry skated round him. And just as he was just about to take the winning penalty shot on an empty net, his stick broke. And there was a player, Stronge, who was playing for Cardiff, great sentiment, unbelievable player. And he went down and he scored the winning goal. And Cardiff won the Challenge Cup final that year. I can't remember what year it was. I'm absolutely useless with years.
Yeah, I've never heard of any of those guys, but
yeah, that phenomenal.
So that's at the old Cardiff Arena that happened.
Yeah, it was old before, obviously, the BBT.
Right, yeah, where the shopping center thing is there, right?
Yeah,
right by Chippy Lane. So then obviously you ran amok at Chippy Lane before. Right?
Yes, I've been to Chippy Lane. Yes, yeah. I've been there.
So what would you get if you went now?
Probably chicken shish kebab.
Yeah.
Chips.
Yeah, chips.
That'd be about it. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm just curious. It must have been really fun having the arena downtown in Cardiff and being able to just walk right there. Cardiff Bay is beautiful. Like where the arena is now is beautiful, but to be right in the action there, that would have been pretty neat.
Yeah, well, it was a good arena, good atmosphere, and the BBT was, it's exactly the same.
Okay, we haven't pissed anybody off yet. Who do you think? Because you were a linesman. Who's the best ref? Let's piss some people off. Say somebody. Do it. Piss the rest off. Do it.
Who's the best ref?
Yeah.
Gee. They're all good.
Oh,
there you go.
Here we go. I never would have thought you were just going to go with the politically correct answers. That's fine. Okay. Where and what are you doing now?
Me, I'm still lining. Hopefully be back next year if they want me. And I just work for an American company that sell manufacturing equipment. It's nothing exciting.
Well, there's definitely want you back because that first game, like you had your strategy, and you know what, it makes sense to me. It worked. I thought you had the most control of the game of linesman and like everything. Like I thought you were great.
Oh, thanks, Wally. I appreciate that.
Okay. I'll say this nice stuff to you now, then we can carry on back to normal. Okay. What I loved about hockey in the UK was when it was fun to be at the rink again, and it was fun to play hockey again. And it was linesmen like you that made it like that would chirp me and I could chirp you, and you weren't just going to give me a 10 and we could have a bit of a laugh and you could chirp me and then like skate away like with a smirk, and then Deese would spray you with the water bottle and like everybody's laughing, but like it was fun. And people that show up to hockey rinks and it's about business and it's serious, I'm not really into that shit. I like showing up to a hockey rink because you love it and it's fun. And that's what you brought to the rink every night, just as a linesman. That's why I'll never forget you. Okay.
Oh, that's appreciated, Wally. And yeah, do you know what? It's true. I work 5 days a week, and I dedicate my time to hockey every weekend. And I want to go there and I want to have fun with the guys that I'm with. I want to, you know, I want the players to have fun whilst, you know, yeah, it's their careers. They're you know, they're playing for themselves and for the team and for the fans. And, you know, they've got to just have as much fun as well. And if you're on the same level as them, and, you know, it makes the game flow, and I can take some of the heat away from the referees that maybe the play, you know, if a player goes up and has a go at the referee, they have the power to just suddenly be like, bang, you know what, go and sit down for 10 minutes. And that's no fun for anybody. You know, the player's going to get pissed off, even though they're sat in there for 10 minutes, cooling off. It's no fun. Whereas I try and deflect that away from the referee, and, you know, like players will get on and off the ice and you can hear them moaning, and I'll say, look, what's up? Get it off their chest, and then, you know, just get on with the game.
Yeah.
And that's what I prefer, because then they can talk to me, I can talk to them, we can have some banter, and yeah.
And when you're talking about the passion you have and how you get like amped up for the bigger games, you know, the moments, you know, when it's like there can be better FU matches with players and nothing. It's just the time of the game that needs to happen, and we're getting it off our chests, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's knowing when to, okay, do you know what they are? Just let them have their event then. Yeah. And then come back after, you know, maybe a stoppage later and go, hey, you okay now? And then they'd be like, yeah, I'm okay. And
it's and it's the same as like we're talking about those games on a Wednesday in a Hull, and like we're all there and we're all kind of miserable to be there, and someone starts acting like a donkey. It's a lot easier to give them that 10 that night.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I know. I agree. But so you're in Surrey, which is by Guildford, is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Research team tried to get hot. So that is by right. London then. That's by Heathrow where I'm flying in.
Yep.
For Matthew Myers testimonial, July 2nd, folks. Right?
Yeah,
be there, be square, folks.
That'll be a fun night.
Yeah. Yeah. He has me flying out on the Sunday out of Heathrow, and I'm like, man, we got to change that to Monday. Got to.
Yeah.
Can't.
That's not.
I'd have to be on the road by like 6 a.m. on the Sunday, and that's just, it's just doesn't work because I already have anxiety about it now, right? So
yeah, no, you need to change that.
Right. Doesn't matter the cost. Gotta change that.
No.
Okay. Then when I got, instead of like the research team, I got really like creepy stalker neighborish, is I checked out your Insta. You just got engaged. Married.
Yes, I did.
Engaged or married?
No, engaged to my
Dad hasn't heard a love story in a while. Can we hear one?
It's not much of a love story.
What do you mean? You just proposed. Where was that? That looked lovely.
Oh my God. Now you're testing me. I've forgotten the name of the place.
Oh dear. That's on the test.
Oh no. Yeah.
Okay. Tough questions are over.
Yeah.
Where'd you meet her? At the hockey rink?
No, I didn't actually. I met her through a dating app.
Oh yeah. That's what you do nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. That was how we met. And yeah, I've been with Jane for 5 years, and yeah, we got engaged.
She's okay with all the officiating?
Yeah, she doesn't mind the hockey at all. You know, obviously a lot's changed because of lockdown, and you know, I don't have an office that I go to, so I work from home every day. And so at weekend, she's probably pretty glad to get rid of me. So she's like, yeah, you know, if you've got to go to Scotland or Belfast, see you later. Yeah, she's happy with the peace and quiet.
Yeah, I could understand. Yeah. Yeah, I've worked from home for a long time now. Now I'm mixing in some real days too, you know, not just in the shed.
Yeah.
Okay. So any off-season plans? So you are still reffing. I thought, I could be wrong, but like that first game in the BBT, I thought that was your swan song. I thought like they were saying goodbye to you like way back when I first came over, like way back in 2014, 15. When did you retire and then come back?
It was at the end of the 2015 season.
Yeah, so that was the swan song, and that's when you were chirping me up stuff. Who is this guy? Yeah, okay.
Do you know what? I think there was a lot that happened that year. I think you had guys like Chris Culligan,
Yeah,
Jake Morissette,
yeah,
Joey Haddad.
Mhm.
Obviously, you had Dougie as well. There, you had the Hoffams as well. I mean, it was just a
Hendo
phenomenal team.
Batchy,
Yeah,
the goat.
yeah, and then Mark Richardson,
Yeah,
and
it was a squad.
Do you know what it was? I think was that the year when the NHL had their lockout as well.
No,
and we had, like,
no, that's 2 years after that. I was in Germany for
Was
that
it?
one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I just remember, like, there was a lot going on that season, and that's when I was 38 then, and I was just like, do you know what? I think I'm ready to go, and yeah, I wasn't far from it, and yeah, I'll come back.
Well,
There-
the
there
one
was-
thing I'm gonna, yeah, gosh darn it, I keep saying nice things to you. But when I first got over there that season, yeah, like we had our little thing there at the start of the season. I thought it was neat that you kept kicking the centerman out because it was strategic. But when Deese was raving about you, and whoever Deese likes, I like, he was like, I could see when you were doing your swan song, like, this is it. And like, for the fans to be cheering for you and everybody that was in the big blue tent, they were cheering for a linesman, right? I'd never seen that before. Just being honest.
They were probably like, yay, thank God he's gone. See you later. And then I was back the following year, literally, straight after the summer.
Yeah, there's no way you're going anywhere. You have too much fun there.
Oh, I do. I love it.
Okay. So then growing up in Surrey, that's not a town though, right? That's like an area.
Yep. Wokin's the town, or Guildford.
So just outside London is what we're saying.
Yeah, just say that.
Okay. So how'd you get into hockey, and did you play any other sports? Did you play hockey?
I did play hockey. The reason I come about to sort of referee, I grew up in Bracknell. Obviously, when I was a lot younger, my mum and dad lived in Bracknell, and they opened up a rink, John Knight Leisure Centre, and it was like state of the art at the time. And we just went there. It was just a family. It was just a family outing. And then my dad was always very good at doing things wholeheartedly. So when he started something, he'd follow it through. And we started going to the rink on a regular basis, like Monday and Tuesday night skating. Then obviously I got playing like under 14s, which was just for a season. Then I I moved up to the under 16s. And then my dad said to me, he was like, hey, why don't you become a referee? I knew I was never going to make it as a player. I didn't have the skills, or, I couldn't read the play, getting myself into open positions to receive passes or, take shots. And so my dad was like, why don't you come to a referee camp? You'll be out on the ice all the time. You get paid for it. And, being 14, 15, it's a bit of pocket money. And you think, all right, okay. So I went to a camp, and, I started doing late night games or recreational games. And then I started doing sort of under 14s and under 12s on the line, and started to sort of build up from there. And I remember I was calling all things wrong, icings and offsides, and you just think, oh my God, am I really going to manage with this and cope? And then with just one game, it all fell into place, and everything seemed to just go right. And I loved it from that moment, and it just progressed from there. And
when you do a good job at something, and it makes you like it more, right?
Yeah, it does.
When you're not confident in what you're doing, and you don't feel like you're doing a good job, it's not a good feeling, like, inside and your guts. When you feel like you're doing a good job, then you feel better about yourself, right?
Yeah, you do. And you know what? Some of those games are the hardest to do, because like the parents, you know, if their kids playing and you're lining, they're all over you. And, you know, we had so many officials that were just, they would give up after a few games because they were like, we can't stand the abuse. And it was like, wow, you know, and it's sad in some ways because we had so many officials that just gave up after doing a few junior games because they just couldn't stand the abuse that they were getting from the mums and dads of players that were in the stands. It was crazy.
Oh man, yeah, it's wild times, the minor hockey, and with parents being around their kids watching them play. It is a whole different atmosphere than that professional. For sure.
Yeah. Certainly is.
Yeah. Anyways, that would be interesting. So did you always do lines or did you do reffing?
I have refereed a few games, like lower league, under 16s, under 14 tournaments. I've always been a linesman. And to be honest, I've never really I've wanted to stay a career linesman because you have so much more fun on.
That's what
on
Rosie said too. He said it's more fun. Yeah.
Do you know, you have so much more personal interaction with the players that as a referee, you can't be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I would miss about the game the most, because, you know, like when I'm controlling face-offs, you know, I can talk to the centerman, you know, when it's getting down to, you know, maybe a tied game or a 3-2 game, and you know, they're all sticky, and, you know, you're saying to the centerman, like, hey guys, you know, this is an important draw. I know it's important for both teams because, you know, you both want to win it. Let's keep it clean, get your sticks down, bang. You know, and I talk to the players a lot, even when I've dropped the puck. You know, I'll be like, "Hey, good face-off, guys." You know, even whilst the game is going on, and that's the element that I love about it. And as a referee, you don't get.
Well, there's definitely different times of the game where face-offs are like so much more important, right? Like the way I've never really thought about your side of it, but like for the linesmen, it should be, and I guess it is different for you guys, right? Because when there's been a timeout and you're going out to a D zone draw up a goal with 30 seconds left, the importance of that face off compared to one with, you know, 17 minutes left in the first period is different in the, you know, in the neutral zone.
Yeah, it definitely is. And especially when we have the ability to kick centermen out of draws, you don't want to be kicking them out at that stage of the game.
No,
you know,
they're out there for a reason. That's why they get paid, is to take that draw.
Exactly. And you know what?
I did not get paid to take that draw.
No. And the thing is, I don't want to be the decider of a game because of a face-off or something that I've done when it's their job to decide it, you know? Right. And so, and that's the interaction side that I just like the most. And I love lining. I've always said, and, you know, people that I work with, I said, oh, I'd have to go refereeing. And they're just like, Younger, it's not for you. You're a career linesman and that's it. And, you know, I appreciate the honesty that the guys give me. And, you know, I prefer to just run the line and have the interaction with everybody.
And I think it suits you too. Like you said, you deflect things from the ref, and like that helps players. The players may not understand what you're doing for them at the moment, right? But once they hear you in the shed, they might realize, oh, he was doing that for me. He was blocking he was the buffer between me and the ref, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I don't like seeing players get like misconduct penalties just because they're having a meltdown or a moment that, you know, it's like, look, come on, guys, you know, chill.
Yeah,
take it out on me. I'm not going to turn around and give you you know, I'm not going to run over to the ref and say, oh, you know, yeah, Ashley Tate, he done it very well in Sheffield. I remember calling an offside and he skated past me, and he didn't make a big song and dance about it. He didn't gesture in any way that made me look stupid. He skated past, and he's sort of like, you know, fuck you, Younger, as he skated past me. But it was just between me and him. Nobody else heard it. It was right outside the opposition bench, but it was so quiet that I just, you know, we just got on with it.
Right. That's what I used to do. I would never make a scene in front with refs or linesmen. I would go up and politely say, you're an idiot. Right?
Yeah.
It's a little more forceful.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
Okay. So then you're in that area by London. So you guys got like a hub of refs around there too, like they got in Cardiff?
No, I know Dan's works in London and Steph's nearby as well, so we should do a meetup, and Ilya as well. Sometimes we arrange to sort of have a meetup, but we haven't done one just yet.
So like all of the refs from Cardiff, right, when they're going to games, and I never thought of this, is when we were at those games in Big Blue Tent, like you're driving by yourself to all those games, right? Those guys are already there.
Yeah, some of them will be. I mean, most of the time we'll either be paired up as, one ref, one linesman, or it'll be all four of us in one car and we'll be traveling up. And yeah, it's a lot of time. It's a massive dedication. I remember one year, me and Dans were meant to be in Belfast, and I picked him up from Reading. We drove down to Heathrow. And when we turned up, the flights were all cancelled because air traffic control was down. And there was only 3 games on that day. It was Braehead, Cardiff. I think there was another game it was either Dundee or Fife. And Belfast had their first home game for several weeks. And there was no officials available. Everybody, because they hadn't been allocated games, were doing stuff with their own family. And Don's, I remember we got in the car and it was about 11 o'clock in the morning because our flight was meant to be at like 10:30. And he was like, listen, start heading north. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Where are we going? He said, just keep heading north. He said, until I tell you otherwise. And got on the M40 and we kept driving and we got to Manchester. And I'm like, where are we going? He's like, we're going to Glasgow. There's no officials. And so for 8 hours non-stop driving in the car, we ended up in Glasgow for a TV game, Glasgow against Cardiff. We done the game. We turned up at 6:30 for a 7 o'clock face-off. Absolutely knackered. We done the game. And then I said to Duns afterwards, I was like, where are you tomorrow? And he was like, oh, I don't have a game. He said, going to be at home. And I said, well, unlucky for you. I said, because I've got a game in Cardiff. And so we stayed the night in Glasgow and we ended up traveling all the way down to Cardiff the next night, done a game in Cardiff.
Driving.
Yeah. Non-stop driving, 1,000 miles that weekend.
You guys use your own cars to do that.
Yep.
There ain't no league cars. They're not giving you cars.
Nope. Probably could have hired one, but we wasn't expecting to be driving all the way to Glasgow when we was meant to be flying to Belfast to do the game. It was a phenomenal weekend of traveling, but it was long and tiresome.
Well, and that's what fans don't get it, right? When they're out there screaming at you guys and yelling at you, and like when you look at those NHL games and they get the video and they get it right down to the very centimeter or whatever, like that it's offside or not, like the game's happening fast. And like you look at how many NHL linesmen don't get the exact call right. Sometimes they're quite wrong, right? And those are only when they show the ones where there's goals scored. There's more, right? And you guys are driving for 12 hours before you get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because you love it.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and that is exactly it, and I'm sorry
I yelled at you so much.
Oh, you don't need to be sorry. You're doing
good, because I'm not.
No, you're doing.
I didn't mean it at all. I meant every word I said. Oh shit! Sorry. I had one more question though. You said 10:30. I forgot about that saying when I was over there. 10:30. Is that 9:30 or 10:30?
10:30 is 10:30.
10:30. But you're already past 10.
Yep.
So it's half. What I'll say. You're halfway through the 10th hour.
Yep. Yeah. You love our British sayings, don't you?
I just try to figure out where it came from, how it works, It's like running amok. You never know. Okay, sorry, I don't know where we're at. Do you know?
No, I don't. Carry on.
Okay,
I've got plenty of more stories if you want more stories.
I got one. Research team found
Cool.
this one. You had a bad injury in 2021. Broke your leg, tibia.
Yeah, I broke my ankle and my fibia in
Fibia.
the elite series.
Oh, and like
Through-
in the hub, like in the that thing.
Yeah, yeah. I had a.
How
I
did
had
it
a pretty-
happen? You get just stuck in a rut.
No, it was all my own fault. Obviously because of lockdown, we hadn't been skating, we hadn't been on the ice for a year, and I'd had my own fair share of the coronavirus in the December. I ended up with the November 20, was it 2000? So when was it? 2020, I ended up with a blood clot in my leg and pulmonary embolisms on both lungs, which needed treatment in the November. Then I caught COVID in the December, and then the Elite Series started in the sort of March, April time. And I was on a game. It was literally a couple of minutes into the third period, Coventry against Manchester. Puck got rimmed around the boards and two players were battling. And for some reason, I decided to jump up on the boards just as they collided into each other. And they started to take me out, and my leg planted into the ice, and the players sort of carried on through me, and my leg was going one way as I was going back the other. And yeah, I knew my ankle had gone straight away.
So you were
I
trying
can't
to
remember-
jump up onto like the player's bench, but then your foot lands as they're coming by. So then your foot's planted.
Yeah, it sort of planted sideways, and their momentum carried on. I do have a video of it, which I've never watched to this day, and it's one of my hockey buddies.
I don't know why you'd watch it.
No, well, some of them do. They said, "Oh no, you don't want to watch it. You fold up like a deck chair," is what I got told. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be watching that, thanks."
No, there wouldn't be a reason to watch that.
No, so yeah, I had an all-inclusive stay at Queen's Medical Centre in Nottingham, and they operated a week later, and
you have a real job.
Yeah. So yeah, I was still working at the hospital, and yeah, had 3 pins inserted, and then I wasn't.
And you're back next season.
Well, yeah, to be honest, Wally, I didn't expect to be, because at first, so the incident happened around the 17th of April last year. And the recovery, because everything was still in lockdown, all the rehab was being done online. And the initial assessment was that I wasn't going to be back out on the ice until December of 2021, or even January of this year. But I managed to get back with the help of our great NHS staff. I managed to get back on the ice in the November. I couldn't make, it was the end of October, beginning of November that I came back. I started doing some lower level games at the beginning of October just to see how I was skating and how it felt. And then I was back doing the Elite League in November. And to be honest, I was surprised at how well my leg was coping for the games. It was good. Obviously I got selected to do the Challenge Cup final this year, which was an achievement and something I certainly wasn't expecting. And then obviously I got selected for the playoff finals at Nottingham this year, and done the Cardiff Guildford semi-final on the Saturday evening, which was a great game.
That's really impressive shit. And because I guess what's going through my brain right now is my body hurts more and more all the time. You're older than me. you're getting injured, older than me, and you're going through all that shit to try and come back. Like, I had a hard time after my knee surgeries. I had a hard time not being around the guys and working out by myself, being by myself, doing it all by myself. I like being around the team. That's what I always wanted to be doing. And I always had a hard time after that. But that you went through all that, got yourself back, and then got yourself back to a level you're getting picked for all those big games. That's impressive shit. I'm about done being nice to you now.
Yeah,
but the game in the EIHL needs that. They need the best linesmen. They need the best refs doing the biggest games, and they need dedicated people like you that are willing to put in the work to get back to that level that they're going to have great officiating in those games.
Yeah.
Now I'm done. God damn it.
Yeah, and we've got great officials, Onesy, Beresford, Ilya, Fraley, and these are the guys that are going to be taking over, and that's sometimes some of the hard thing as well, Wally. Because my time is, I'm not saying it has now, but I'm 45. I'm going to go into next year, and if I could turn back the clock, 30 years, when I first started refereeing and, being chosen to referee all the line or officiate all the semi-finals and finals that I've done. If somebody said to me, would you go back and do it all again? I would in a heartbeat, mate, because I love the sport so much. And people just, they won't ever realize, just because we get picked for those games, we don't take it for granted. There's plenty of people that can be chosen. And it's humbling, and your colleagues are always so proud of you and stuff. So yeah, it
is very similar to like being hockey players, because I didn't realize how few jobs there are out there in Europe and in the world, say for like a small right-handed scoring winger, right? Like there really isn't that many jobs to run a half wall on a power play in the world, right? So it's the same thing. There's a lot of people signing up for these jobs, and not many people get to do it, right? So you got to be thankful sometimes when you get to think about it, right?
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, you have.
Okay. Anyways, next question: do linesmen have pregame meals, especially when you're driving all the way to Glasgow and stuff? Do you try to stick with the pasta like the players, or you just running amok eating whatever?
Well, we should try to stay as healthy as possible, but sometimes it's not possible. No. Let's just be honest. We're traveling to these games, and I don't always want to have a sandwich or pasta on the way. Sometimes I'd like to have a hot meal before, or maybe something else. So,
is that you beeping?
Yeah, it is. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you better stop that shit.
Hold on, let me.
Yeah, shut it off.
Can't even.
So you're eating McDonald's. They're making the hot food for you, aren't they?
Yes, they do. Sometimes, but no.
Do you know Andrew Lord even let the Cardiff Devils stop at McDonald's after games sometimes too?
Yeah, he did, especially on the way out of Nottingham.
Yeah, we would run amok. Then the next season he stopped that shit.
Hold on, you're professional athletes.
Hey, I thought we handled this beeping shit.
Yeah, I'm just trying.
I'm gonna be kicking you out of Faceoffs soon. You don't get that beeping to stop. Okay. Next question then. So you're not eating healthy pregame meals, and I understand you're on the road, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Any player really stand out as like the best chirper, the one like you really like to banter with?
Yeah. Do you know what? The one that, Ryan Finnerty.
Oh, Shed guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Finner always, like, when he played in Cardiff, he had he was in Sheffield as well. And yeah, he always
You could
used
almost
to,
call you the Ryan Finnerty of linesmen.
honestly,
I've never seen him play hockey, but I'm just picturing this.
Oh, he used to come out with some corkers, and the thing is, he used to make me laugh on the ice. Like, it would be literally a serious situation that didn't warrant I should not have been laughing.
Yeah,
but he would say the quickest of one-liners, and he knew that I had heard, because the first thing he used to do was look round at me to see because I heard him, and I would start laughing. And sometimes he'd do it even on Faceoffs, and I'd be like, Ryan, you can't do this. I've got to be serious, and you're making me laugh. If you say something funny, I can't hold it in.
No, yeah, you gotta be. Yeah, no, he seems like a guy that enjoys hockey. Like, he's having fun at the rink, right?
Yeah,
I would have been fun to see him play. Never got to see that. But yeah, okay, I could see that. Deese would have been memorable too from the bench. We covered that. Okay. How about the code with breaking up fights and stuff when you're like crowd surfing on the guys, putting your package in their face? Any guys like just totally snap and like you're kind of like worried what they're doing and you see their eye just kind of go crooked? Anything get pretty wild?
There has been a few of those incidents. I remember, and it was lucky because Danny Beresford actually mentioned to me this afternoon before I come on. There was one fight. It was me and him. It was in Nottingham, and it was Cam Jansen against Keith.
Oh, that would have been something.
Oh, I tell you, on the ice at the top, like these two guys
are competitors. Yeah.
Oh, they were absolutely throwing bombs. And I remember even Danny said it felt like the fight was going on for about 5 minutes at centre ice. And they were two big guys, two massive players that just, yeah. And you just think, oh my God, I've had so many incidents. Nottingham against London Racers, they just sent, there was a massive line brawl. And you just, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
So in a line brawl, then you're like, is it like, how do you handle it? Because I thought when like fighting was very normal growing up, right? When I get to junior and stuff, and we got in a couple line brawls, and I'm not a very, you could say, effective fighter. I try my best, but
yeah.
I'm not that good at it, I always was worried that like in a line brawl, I'd get into a situation where like the refs are elsewhere and I am just getting throttled.
Yeah, and that's the horrible situation when there is like a line brawl, or when there's 2 or 3 incidents that are happening. Obviously, the guys that want to fight, and the guys that don't, and if I can try and help out the player that doesn't really want to get involved in this and he's being ragdolled around, we'll probably go to that one first, and let the other, 2 willing combatants that want to go and they know what their role is. Then once the fight is over, they're normally quite happy to stop, give each other a pat on the back, good fight, and then just go straight to the box, and they know their role and they play that role well. But normally, if it's just 2 fighters, we'll just let them go, and then once they're down on the ice, we'll try and split it up. And
so then what happens in a line brawl whenever we're like, and I guess that's how they change the rules in hockey, right? Where the second fight in a play is like you get suspended for so long, it's to help you guys out, right?
Yeah, well, if it's a line brawl, I mean, we'll just have a look and assess the situation, and then
as quickly as you can.
And as best as you can. And we're just normally, what I'll try to do is we'll split the players up. I'll get them into the penalty box. Tell the guy who's running the door to shut it, and there's none of that coming back out of the penalty box and getting involved again. So I normally try to tell them to shut the door, go and split up another fight. get them in the box, shut the doors, go back, and I've had
Does
a
this
few,
stuff still happen?
not as much as it used to,
No.
thankfully. Do you know
Thankfully?
what? I think, yeah, do you know, look, I think there is an element of fighting in the sport, which I think is still warranted on times, like.
You think?
Yeah, well, if you look at it like, if you've got an enforcer and, Cardiff are 3-0 down within the space of 5 minutes and he's going out there to G the boys up and, have a fight with another enforcer and get that's fine, but there were some times when it just used to get so silly. You would be,
the silliness doesn't need to happen. You're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just used to get so silly at times, and it was just like, for a linesman, it used to just get boring.
Hey now, what's going on here?
I'm getting loads of messages while we're chatting.
You are popular, eh?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on.
Huh. Well, anyways, I think it matters. I think it doesn't have to be even an enforcer. If your team needs to get going and they ain't doing anything, it doesn't matter who fights. It doesn't matter if he's an enforcer. It doesn't matter if he's a goal scorer. If somebody fights, it's showing the boys like, let's rock and roll here. Like Roy's Garage, June 25th at Ainsdale Golf Course. Folks, don't forget to register at aleshockeytales.com, right? But seriously, we have a rock and roll band and I'm having a golf tournament, folks. It's going to be a busy 7 days. Golf tournament, June 25th. Matthew Myers testimonial the next weekend. Okay.
Oh, great.
Shed's going to be hot. Actually, yeah, there's not going to be much chatting going on, folks. So you might have to re-listen to some episodes because it's going to be a pretty busy few days. I forget where we were now. The fighting, right?
Yeah.
Guys totally snapping. That's the question. Any guys like totally snap on you where you're like, is this for real? Like in your face or the other guy's face that they're fighting like that? You just know they're just not stopping. They're just going to continue.
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head. There is probably some incidents where it has happened. I think there was an incident with Brad Voth, Danny Stewart. They literally had a fight in Coventry and Danny just wouldn't stop at all.
You're telling me Danny Stewart would fight Brad Voth?
Yeah.
How would he do?
He didn't do too bad. Danny was... He went for him. They had a fight in Coventry.
He was trying to fight me when I came to EIHL. I'm like, why are you trying to fight me? Like, why would I fight you? But he was like my size, but just an angry little fella.
Yeah, he had to go with Voffa. So yeah, once he because they both went down, and I remember Danny was still throwing punches afterwards, and he whacked me in the back of the head. He'll remember that story. He does remember. And
I would have thought Voth would run amok with him.
Yeah, I think it was just all a bit messy, and Voth lost his footing, I think, and just fell over. But yeah, the incident, I suppose, is the Voth Knight one that we spoke about earlier. Both the guys got off, went behind, and yeah, it was a horrible fight off the ice. I'd never seen two grown men. Literally, it was almost like a street brawl. It was horrible. One of the worst off ice fights I've seen, I think.
Yeah, it's not fun when they get like that.
No.
Okay. You never answered who's the best ref, okay? Who's the fastest skating ref? Who's the best skating ref?
Liam Saul.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, phenomenal skater.
Is he?
Phenomenal. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is such a good skater.
So we covered least agile, right? Because onesie can't stop one way, right?
Yeah, can't stop one way.
Oh, that Beresford. Shed guy. He's going to come on sometime, but he was in the World Championships, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, eh? When the
achievement.
Brits are going to the World Championship, like top group, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, and it's a massive achievement for Danny. You know, he's worked so hard to get to that level as well, and yeah, you know, absolutely fantastic, and it's recognition as well with, you know, all the hard work that we put in,
all the miles you put on your cars too, eh?
Yeah, and you know, it's nice as well for UK hockey to, you know, the officials to be recognised. You know, we've had, you know, many official, male and female, go away and do international tournaments. I was lucky enough to go away 3 times. Obviously, as you mentioned, to Slovenia and Luxembourg and Iceland.
Research team's got that down for questions here.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool though when you get to travel the world for hockey, right? And for you guys, your passion is being the best you can at lines or reffing or whatever that is. And when you get recognition, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, and you know, it's a great way to be recognized as well with your fellow peers, you know, because everybody looks up at you when, you know, no matter what games you're doing, and they all want to strive to be at that level. And we can also share knowledge as well, you know, like I'm sure Danny's picked up some things from being away that he'll share with the guys the next time we see him, you know, and we take that into our games as well.
All right. So what are we saying? Like what do refs, what do linesmen like? Is it your positioning? Is it like, how do you keep up with the play more? How do you be at this blue line when they get there? Like, what do you guys, what do you catch?
What do you mean? Go on, say that.
Well, like how a lot of linesmen is like, you say he learned something. What could he learn from being around linesmen? Like I know, like I could watch a game and see a power play do something. I'm like, shit, I've never seen that play before.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be like your positioning on the ice, like, you know, obviously now with four officials out there, 2 referees and 2 linesmen, you know, yeah, we only have to worry about being on the line, you know, making sure that is it a definite icing, is it offside? It could be the way that we conduct face-offs, the way that we position ourselves on the ice. You know, there's always little things that you'll learn, you know, that we always feed back to each other. And, you know, it might look easy, you know, from the outside looking in, but, you know, we're always learning no matter how much experience we've got, exactly the same as you guys, you know, like you just said there, you'll see something happen on somebody's power play and you think, gee, you know, I hadn't done that before. Why don't we try that? And you'll put it into practice and, you know, but we have to put it into practice in a game situation. We don't get the ability to practice. You know, yeah. So we have to learn as we're going along.
Right. I was just curious, like what the chatter is like in the locker room, like when he comes back, if like when you talk about the games, like I guess what the hell you guys talk about? Cause I don't know. I'd be talking about like the player and like who's really good or like a play they'd run on a power play. I'm not sure what linesmen would talk about or refs, right?
Yeah, well, we talk about all different types of things. So obviously we know who the starting lineups are going to be before the game, and when things are happening on the ice, like 9 times out of 10, the linesman, you know, will communicate with the referee and be like, hey, you know, keep an eye on this, or, you know, this happened. You know, it's not so much now with the 4-man system. It used to be in the 3-man. But obviously, you know, we'll talk about things in the dressing room. Hey, you know, like keep an eye on this center, you know, stick's not going down, or he's jumping here, or he's dropping to one knee, you know, trying to gain an advantage. And so obviously we try to, you know, stop that from happening. So that's the sort of things that we talk about in between periods or maybe before games. I know that Hicksy, like when it comes to the quarterfinals, they do a massive stat sheet and it tells you, like, you know, which center favors which draw and stuff like that. Just, you know, and we can see all the analytics of everything.
That's craziness. gosh, that just threw me for a loop. I was gonna say something and now I forget. You guys have analytics for what you guys are doing?
No, we can view our games, but it's normally for like when it gets to the sort of quarterfinals and semi-finals, we normally get a breakdown of like what the teams have done like the night before. So it's mainly like the quarterfinals that we get that. So we can view everything. It's quite in depth. It's quite in. Yeah.
God, I tried to remember what I was gonna say because it was very serious, and now I can't remember
That's
what
right.
it was.
It'll come
still.
to you. Don't
It
think
is
about
good.
it.
Yeah, it's gonna come to me. It was something to do with getting better and what you're talking about, but it's gonna come to me. So I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna pretend like it didn't happen. Okay. Posted the picture. You're walking down the hallway. You're number 23, Lee Young. Your email and right here is telling me number 79. So what's going on here? You number 23 or number 79?
I'm number 79 now. I used to be 23. And after my injury in Nottingham last year at the Elite Series, I just didn't want to wear that number anymore. And so I had a change of heart and I asked for 79.
You've been 20, you had been 23 the whole time?
Yes, I had. I actually, well, there was one season where I wore 13 because I'd actually given my shirt away to a fan and didn't realize that we weren't getting new shirts for the following year. So I had to wear 13 for one season. But yeah, I'd been 23 and that photo was actually taken by Rosie. That was the year at the finals weekend when I decided to retire. So as I was walking out, he got that shot and they had made up my name on the
it was really cool. It's a great photo. It's a great photo.
Yeah, it is. It's a fantastic photo and yeah.
Well, you know, Shed's here to try and help get you guys recognition you guys deserve because to be honest, I thought you guys do a great job in the IHL. I know a lot of fans will disagree with me, but when they probably haven't watched many games in Germany. What a mess.
Yeah.
So refs pick their numbers.
A majority of the time, yes, they do.
Okay. So why 23 and why 79?
Well, I was going to pick 77 because that was the year I was born, but Onesy had it. So I couldn't have that. I didn't want 78, so I just picked 79.
Okay, so you just wanted to be in the 70s and you kept working your way up from 77.
Yep.
Okay, 23 just started when you were a kid.
23. I wanted 7, but Simon Kirkham had that number, and I picked 23 afterwards.
Well, I wore number 18 in Cardiff because number 10 was getting retired that season to Stoner, and I had worn 19 in Sunderjewski, and that one was retired too, I think, right? Moria, maybe, I think. So that's how I became 18. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting how people pick their numbers because Colby wears number 14 for Tom Kuhnhackl from Germany because he let us meet him after an NHL game, right? Everybody's got a story usually about their number they wear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing special about my numbers. The guys might say different, but no.
Okay. So next question, poster pictures. There's a photo of you getting ready to drop the puck. Probably a big game, a lot of fans there, big arena. But your form, ass out, like straight back, you know, right over it. Like, is that what goes on at training camps, is getting that form down? Because my goodness, it was spectacular. The ass out, everything was perfect.
No, do you know what that come from? I think it was obviously the worst thing as a linesman is getting taken out on a face-off draw, especially from the wingers behind you. It's got to be the absolute worst.
Going back over on your head up. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because You don't.
So what's the
expect
game plan? Drop and then what? Plant your feet or get the hell out of the way?
Get the hell out of the way. But
So
obviously, as you get a little bit older and fatter and slower, that's a bit more difficult.
you don't look
so...
like you're getting fatter. You still look the same.
Thanks. No, obviously, that way having the knees bent, and if they do come, you're not going to get. At least you've got a bit more balance to you.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. It's the same as like when you get really tired because you're fat on the ice and you start straight legging it, you can fall down easier.
Yeah. And so and we watch obviously NHL games as well, and we see how the best league in the world, how their officials are doing it, and it just gets adapted and adopted over here. And and obviously the guys that travel away and do tournaments, they'll pick things up and they'll bring them back here. And it's just how the games progress. I'm sure there'll be something else that will happen, and we'll be doing something.
So when you watch an NHL game, are you watching like the positioning of the linesman?
Yeah, do you know what? It's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult to watch a game without watching the officials on the ice and seeing what's happened. It was quite funny. One of my friends the other day was like, "Oh, how come?" I think it was one of the Colorado games. He was like, "How come this wasn't offside?" And I was like, "Well, because the player hadn't touched the puck, and the other guy was skating out and touched the line, and then he gained possession of the puck once it was in the zone." And he was like, "Well, it doesn't." And then he sent me the clip of it later, and he was like, "Oh, actually, yeah, you were right." And that's the thing with some of the fans. If they knew the rules 100%, they wouldn't shout for as much as they do. But they pay their money, and they're entitled to have their opinion. But it's like, yeah, if you was educated, and I'm not saying that every fan isn't, far from it.
Right, no, I know. Yeah. But some of them, when they get all hot and bothered, they should realize maybe they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I went to a football game, and I was watching a football game, and an incident happened on the pitch. And literally, I sat there for a moment thinking, how the hell did the referee not see that? The linesman was only a few feet away. And for a split second, I realized just why fans are so passionate about their teams. And it put it into a new perspective for me, because, I'm not saying I know all the rules of football. Far from it, I don't. I was just watching a game. An incident happened between two players. The linesman flagged for the incident, and I felt like one of the players should have been sent off, and he wasn't. And for a split second, I was like, Jesus, why didn't the ref send him off? And then I was like, well, you know what? This is what fans are like when I make a decision on the ice. And I can see then. And it was,
it's all about, what? It's all about perception, right? And sometimes you don't really have the full perception until you get in your shed and start talking to all the different people in hockey, right? Because there's all of that. And like fans also, like when I've been chatting in my shed, right? I try to sell t-shirts or hats or whatever, right? And then you realize their favorite hockey team selling those, Team GB selling those. There's so many, and then there's season tickets, there's testimonial tickets, there's all these things to spend your money on. And it's like, well, what are we actually going to spend our money on? But when they get to a game and they've paid their money to see a game, like they want a show, right? Like they want their team to win. They're passionate about it because they've just worked all week to get to go to that game on the weekend.
Yep.
Right. So it could piss you off if people are, say not in shape enough for them. And they're like, you need to be more in shape to be our top scorer. I'll be like, okay, sorry, Sean Phillips, my bad. But like, they're passionate about their team. They love their team. And like, they get pissed off when a call's wrong or whatever, or they disagree with it. And it's because of everything they put into the game, just like the linesmen, the refs, the players, takes everybody to bring in that passion into a rink on the weekends, right?
Yeah, it does. And that's what makes the game. And, we know when we've made a mistake. And do you know what? This is something that the fans may or may not see. If I make a mistake on the ice, if I've called an offside wrong, or, there's an icing that I shouldn't have called, like, I know. And the first thing I do is apologize to the players. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I made a mistake. I can't change it.
Let's move on.
The face-off is still going to be here. And between the players and the officials, that's normally accepted.
Yeah.
The fans are going to go mental. I don't mind if a fan comes up and says, hey, what happened in the game for you to call that? But, why was that offside or that wasn't? And why did that puck go all the way down the ice on that offside and all that? Then I'm happy to explain it to them and, just not necessarily educate them, but, make them a bit more aware of what's happening. Look, I'm not a robot. I get things wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I've made a mistake. I'll hold my hands up and openly admit it to the players on the ice, but then the game carries on.
But that's all you can do, right? Is when you make mistakes, is be like, yeah, that's on me. It's the same as a player, right? When you screw up, like, for the most part, I never needed a coach letting me know. I knew exactly what I should have done,
Yeah, exactly. And
it's all about how you're going to approach it. If a fan approaches you yelling and screaming, then you're like, well, I'm not talking to you. And I'm not going to appreciate what you're saying. And it was the same with coaching. If a coach came over and I'd be like, I know.
Yeah, I know what I've done there. I don't need you to bark in the ear hole, but yeah, he's just doing his bit. But it's like, yeah, now you're making me look an absolute idiot.
Yeah. And then you're making me look bad in front of all my buddies. Right. And it's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. So you did get to go to Slovenia.
Yes.
What happened there?
What? Gee, Wally, it was so long ago.
You don't even know why you were there. You were there for a hockey tournament of some kind.
Yeah, I can't even remember what tournament it was. I remember that was my first double IHF assignment. I can't even remember what level it was at.
Okay, here's my question then. You were just ref in the UK, you're reffing away, or sorry, linesman, whatever, officiating, we'll say. But then do you put your name in the hat? Like, I want to go to the IIHF. Do you have to go to camps and say, like, watch what I can do, look at my positioning? Well, how do you get selected?
So for the pool of officials that we have, obviously Ice Hockey UK will have a set number of licenses that they can allocate to their officials. So, Ryan Fraley, Danny Beresford, Onesy, and referees as well, they'll be selected out of a pool to be given an international license. And then it's just based on double IHF, whoever wants to assign, I believe, or this is how it used to work, unless it's changed, because I haven't been involved in international tournaments for some time. They'll get their assignments, and then they'll select just the officials that are registered or being selected for a double IHF badge. And they'll get their assignments that way. So normally the double IHF will inform Simon, and then Simon will normally email the referees and let them know what tournaments they've been given and where the assignments will be.
I remember what we were going to say now.
Go on.
Yeah. So when you're reffing in the UK all year and you know all the players, right? You know who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to say to you. You know what I'm going to do out there. You know what Doug Clarkson's going to do out there, right? You know all the players. You get to know them. You got to do that every year. You got to meet a lot of players and get to know them pretty quickly, right? But then when you go abroad, right? You talked about analytics, and that's when I got sidetracked. When you go abroad, is there like someone saying, hey, number 36 for Finland, he'll do this. Number 22 for Canada, he'll do this. Is there anybody giving you a heads up, or is it like you go out there and you just see what happens?
You just go out there and see what happens. every game is different. I mean, the IIHF, a lot of the players, they will just go there to play. I mean, when players come over, I'm always very nervous at the beginning of any new season. You know, obviously we've got the established guys that we know quite well, and you know we've already built that relationship up. But there's always new players that come in that want to test the boundaries, see what they can get away with, and that's fine. That's part and parcel of the job. And I always get sort of a little bit nervous at the beginning of the season because you don't know what the players are, how they're going to react as well. You know, but then as
are they going to shoot a puck at you?
yeah, exactly. But no, it's totally different. In IIHF, they just go and they play, and they very rarely say anything to the officials.
Okay.
But that's because they don't know us, we don't know them, and they know what they can and can't get away with.
There's also the language barrier too, right? So when you go to these places, you're reffing or officiating with different nationalities, right? Can you guys even speak to each other usually?
I think English is a pretty universal language. So you know, I think fuck you and you know is pretty much the same across
That's
the
pretty
board,
much
so.
how it, that's how it works. Yeah. German, you call people Arschlocks. That's an asshole.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's a new one.
Yeah, you can call them that. Okay, so you went to Luxembourg. What kind of barns are in Luxembourg?
That was a great venue to go to.
Really?
To be honest, yeah, it was. I remember Kazakhstan were playing in that tournament. They were an A pool country, but they had to start right from the bottom because I think it was part of the breakaway region at the time, and they had to start right at the bottom. Kazakhstan, and I think they were playing someone like Belgium, and it was a ridiculous scoreline. It was about, I think it was, I'll say between 60 and 80 goals that they scored.
Kazakhstan did on Belgium.
Yeah,
that would happen.
It was
sorry,
ridiculous.
Belgium fans that listen to the shed. I know there's a few of you.
Yeah,
my bad. Didn't mean it.
I tell you, I had the worst bad back after that game, picking up so many putts. That I think at one stage during the whole game, they pulled their goalie for a period, Kazakhstan, and Belgium still couldn't score. And I remember the supervisor was Nico Tuman. He went absolutely ballistic and was like, if you ever pull a stunt like that again, he said, then, you know, I'm going to kick you out of the tournament.
Like pulling the goalie?
Yeah, they pulled the goalie for a whole period. So they had 6 skaters, no goalie, and the other team still couldn't score. It was just an absolute riot out there. And yeah, it was demoralizing. The poor goalies, I remember, like, literally it was like 10 goals, right? Get the other goalie back in. He'd face 10 shots, 10 goals. Get the other goalie back in.
Yeah, and like, why would you do that, right?
Yeah, it was just, yeah, it was sad. But yeah, it was a good tournament still to go and do, but it was just, yeah, Kazakhstan were way above everybody else.
Yeah, well, those guys can play.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, they
I think they had some NHL prospects at the time as well, because I think there was Toronto and Calgary scouts there at the time.
Well, I could be wrong, and they may disagree with me, right? But, you know, I'm not for everyone. Is in the Continental Cup, like, you play against players from those countries or teams, and I wouldn't say they loved hockey like I did. I would say when I watched their practices, they were showing up and doing their jobs, and they're really good at doing their jobs. They didn't show up and like just love it and just were doing it because they loved it. And I watched their practice and I was like, I could never, ever, 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 ever play there in that situation. You know?
Yeah.
They were not having fun. Not one player smiled the whole practice. I was like, what is happening? It was so different. The practices, man, so different. Anyways, better move on. You went to Iceland.
Yes, Reykjavik. Very expensive, very cold.
What's there for hockey? Is it like the Mighty Ducks? Are they really good?
No, it was no. I think there was a load of really weird teams that were playing. Well, not weird, but obviously hockey that you wouldn't normally associate. I think like Mexico were there, and Spain. It was,
hopefully Argentina was there. Shout out to Matthew Mainzer in the episode like 156 down in Argentina.
Yeah. So but we got to we done I think it was a week out there. Yeah, it was great. Got to see some really.
I never made it to Iceland. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's a good place to go.
And then so you go there to ref or officiate a tournament. Then that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, we normally get a day off. For sightseeing. So they took us to. So we would go and see the hot springs, the geysers. We went and saw Foss, which was a massive, great big waterfall. And then we went to the Blue Lagoon, which was an actual.
Is Team GB in this tournament?
I don't think they were. No. Because obviously any tournaments that we would go to that Team GB involved in, we wouldn't officiate our home country. I mean, they're normally keep us well out of the way.
Never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Well, if any of the what are they called? Supervisors of refereeing are listening to me in the shed right now. If you're going to the IIHF tournaments, don't take the German refs. They're brutal. Take the EIHL refs. They're way better. They let you play hockey and but what do I know? Right?
It's very black and white in IIHF for referees and linesmen. That you literally
there's no the gray area, like say like Dean, my driver from Heathrow, talked about. Like there's a gray area in hockey, right? And it's the same like we talked about that face-off you're dropping at the end of a game compared to the start of the game. Like you're gonna have the same form. I saw it, it's fantastic, but like the way you talk to the players, the way you talk to those centermen, the way they're getting into the face-off, everything's different. Everything's dialed up a little bit more, right?
Yeah. That is exactly it. And
there is gray areas in hockey. So whatever they're called, figure it out.
IIHF.
Yeah, gray areas, right? That's how you become an effective ref or linesman, right? Is knowing the gray areas. Yeah. In my opinion, which doesn't matter. Okay. Sorry, we've been going a long time. I got a couple more questions for you.
That's fine. Go on.
Okay. What do you do to warm up? I'm pretty sure I've seen you play two-touch.
I'm terrible at it, but yeah, I do attempt two-touch with the guys.
Who's the best two-touch player in the officiating world? That can't be a hard question. Like who's the best ref? There is a best two-touch player.
Yeah, Danny Beresford.
Really? This guy's talented, eh?
Oh yeah.
He's in the he's in the world championships. He's running a muck of two-touch too, you're saying?
Yeah. He frustrates me a lot.
Really? Does he do back strikes
he'll
or shoulder strikes like I did?
Oh, it's just everything. He's got some skills, that boy.
I'd like to challenge him. Okay.
Oh, good. Yeah, please. I'd like to see that.
Yep.
Honestly, he'll look one way and then you just kick the ball and I don't know how he does it. I've got triangle feet, mate. It just goes here, there, and everywhere. It's 50 pence.
That's why you that's why you got into officiating, not playing, right?
Yeah,
maybe this Beresford could have been a player, eh?
Yeah, I think he did play. I think he played in goal.
Oh, maybe just played the wrong position.
I think he was a goalie. I don't remember who he played for, but I'm sure he played in goal.
Okay. Okay, so you do play two-touch. That's how you warm up for games?
Yeah.
There's so many questions I have in my head when I start talking hockey. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yes. Carry on.
Okay.
I've got all the time in the world.
Yeah, I don't. Favorite barn in the league and favorite barn outside of the league in the lower leagues that I don't know about. Give me a barn I don't know about in the UK, and then give me your favorite EIHL barn. Mine's Fife.
God, I've never been to Fife. That's one rink I haven't been to.
You've never been to Fife? You shut your what?
No, never been to Fife. Never been to Fife.
So you guys don't
haven't
travel that much. You guys actually are homers.
Yeah, we are.
Well, it makes sense to save money for everybody, and so the fans don't have to pay so much for their tickets, right? Because if you guys are traveling up to Scotland and taking flights and shit just so you don't have homers, well, price just went up, right?
Yeah. What would I say? My favorite
Never been
EIHL
to
arena?
Fife. Okay, carry on.
I haven't. I've never been to Fife.
I know it just doesn't make sense to me because I have been, and you've been in the league for decades, and I was there for 1 year.
Yeah, you've been more times than I have. Yeah, I've never been.
It's a trip, and you know what? I don't know if you'd fit it.
I have heard it's an experience. So,
and I think I want you to go there. EIHL, listen up. I think next season Lee should go to Fife and be mic'd up for the game.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I'll ask Ixie if I can get a game.
Seriously,
and then I'll report back.
Hopefully the fans can be mic'd up too, because they're ruthless.
Are they?
Oh, they can be. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, I think it'd be great if you did a game there. Yeah. Get mic'd up.
I'll ask Ixie if I can go with some of the Scotland. I'll get Toby to come with me as well. Toby Craig.
I hear good things about him. Yeah. Stefan Meyer brought him
Toby?
up too. Yeah. Stefan Meyer brought him up. And if Stefan Meyer likes him, then so do I. I don't know who that is. Probably a terrible ref if he's from Scotland though.
Oh, I've known Toby a long time. So I'll see if I can get a game with him in Fife and he can chauffeur me around for the weekend.
You should. Okay. So what is your favorite barn then? Sorry, we got sidetracked.
Yeah, I'm gonna be my favorite is gonna be Nottingham. Because not for any
you're just because the playoff weekend. That's all you're talking about.
It's got a lot of memories for me there, yes. And I just think it's just a really nice arena. It's just got a lot of memories, Nottingham.
What are the memories that the playoff weekend there where you retired then, and then they did that for you, or what?
Yeah, that was the arena that I had officiated something like 15 to 16 or 17 semi-finals before actually getting selected to do a final. I found this on the web. And
holy moly, 15 to 16 semi-finals before you got a final.
Yeah.
Who are the guys getting the finals? Didn't you want to just get? Yeah.
Yeah, it was what it was at that particular time. There was obviously referees and linesmen that were doing it better than I was at that particular moment. So it wasn't.
And that's always perception too, right? But go ahead.
And so I ended up doing my first final in Nottingham, and then there was obviously the retirement. But I had done so many
semi-finals and that playoff weekend, they do it right. Like I was up in a box when I went to be a pregame speaker. I do the pregame speech, and then I was up in like an actual real box, like I was in the NHL getting free drinks, right?
Yeah,
they do it right there. So that's your favorite rink, eh? What about outside of the EIHL? One I don't know about.
I'm gonna say, can I say two?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. It's your shed visit.
I will go with two. The MEN Arena. I don't think it's called the MEN. It was called the 9X Arena, I think, years ago in Manchester.
The big one?
I remember doing Manchester versus Sheffield with 17,500 people there watching.
Would that be the same arena that I would have gone to watch a UFC event with my wife? Randy Couture versus Bisping, maybe?
Oh, really?
Pretty sure. When I was in Germany, we flew over for a UFC event. Yeah. In
It,
Manchester, it's got to be the same arena. How many arenas can there
yeah,
be like that in Manchester? Yeah.
yeah, it was a phenomenal rink, and it's actually I don't know if you've heard of the comedian Peter Kay, but he used to work the Manchester Storm games because he's mentioned it a couple of times when he's done interviews for radios and stuff like that. And my other favourite rink would probably be before obviously the finals or the playoff finals were held in Nottingham. They used to do a weekend at Wembley Arena,
I've heard
and they
about
used to
this.
yeah they used to hold the playoff finals there, but they used to do a semi-final on the Friday night. They'd do a semi-final on the Saturday, and then they'd play a final on the Sunday. But then they obviously changed the format because one team got a longer rest than the other one.
Was it not like outdoors?
No, it wasn't. So you had
What's
to, you had
Wem
to
like where is Wembley? What is Wembley? Okay. I know I'm an idiot. Okay. Talk to me.
Yeah, so Wembley's on the sort of North Circular, just outside of London. So they had the stadium, which is where they play all the England football games, which they still do now. They knocked the old stadium down, and they built a new stadium, and then they have the arena next door, and that's where they used to hold the playoff finals weekend. And it
Before
used to be a
Nottingham.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah,
And how
and
many people does that sit?
Do you know what? It wasn't. I think it was about 9,000. But they used to have an ice hockey team there years ago, and they used to just do the playoff finals there. So that was probably my two rinks outside of what we have now.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know about that. I knew about the Wembley thing, but I didn't know anything about the rink. My thing is when it comes to rinks is I just want it full. I don't care how big it is. It just better be full of fans because we talked about it. Fans matter.
Yeah.
Right. If it's a rink that seats 500, well, then let's get 500 people in it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than skating out, and it's a full arena,
It's full.
Nottingham, Sheffield's, and it's full. The atmosphere, it really brings everything. It's an amazing experience, and the fans will probably never experience what it's like on the ice, to feel that adrenaline that you get.
Not, yeah, it's hard to feel that adrenaline later in life too, right? When like you'll probably remember you go out, or well, I guess you're still doing it, but like national anthems are playing in those big games, right? You talk about getting more amped up, like the national anthem was always like the thing for me, right? Especially when I got to Cardiff. Because in Germany, we never had the national anthem. We wouldn't line up on the blue line unless it was the finals, which you're amped up for. But in Cardiff, when they would play the Welsh national anthem in the big blue tents, and we were all lined up on the blue line, and like, I didn't understand what they were singing about, but like, I would get goosebumps, and like every single guy on that team, we'd be looking at each other on each blue line, and it was like we were getting ready to we were going to battle, and that's what we would do, right? And then the game would end and you'd go have a pint at the bar.
Yeah.
That's the shit I miss is the national anthem when you're looking at each other and you're like, she's go time.
It's good. It's good. Huh? I do you know what the Welsh national anthem, when everybody's singing it is like that. Goosebumps. You're like, wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. And you see it even now before the games, and it does pump the players up.
It does. It really does. It makes you play better too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I found it interesting when the research team tried to get hot, and there wasn't that many interviews with you because, I thought you were one of the most interesting guys in the league when I was over there.
Yeah, no, you're the only one that's asked me for an interview. So I was like, yep, let's do it.
No, I couldn't wait, man. And it was like the memorable first game in the big blue tent. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I remember showing up that first day, and I'd been in Sunderjyski with their beautiful rink. But then I show up at a big blue tent and I'm like, well, what in the hell is this? And then you have your first preseason game and it's half full and you're like, okay, this is what we're doing. And then we start winning and guys are fighting, guys are scoring, and the team's winning. And then all of a sudden it was just nuts in there. And you get the Welsh national anthem going, and it was really fun to play hockey again. And like, I miss those days, you know?
Yeah. I could imagine, Wally. I could imagine, and yeah, it was. Yeah, we always go back to it, atmospheres and the way it is, and yeah, that BBT it used to rock that place.
It really did.
Yeah, I mean, I've had so many memorable games in that rink. You know, we've obviously had quite a few NHL players grace our league and play. Matt Bolesky. You know, I had a bit of a run-in with him in one game.
I think someone told me about that in the shed, was that you were chirping, like there's like the NHL guys come over for the lockout and think they're big deals, and you're like, no.
No, to be honest, I can remember the game. It was Cardiff Coventry. And there was like 3 or 4 offsides in a row that I'd called against Coventry, and there was 2 players, 2 brothers, Brad and Greg Lee, that were playing, and they were giving me a hard time, and I was giving them a bit of a hard time, and you know, yeah, it's not the professional thing to do. And I remember Matt Bolesky was gliding down the blue line, skating towards me, and he started having a go at me as well. And I didn't even know who this guy was. And I literally looked at him and I was like, and who the effing hell are you? And Darns was stood right next to me and he went, hey, do you know who that is? And I'm like, no, who is it? And he was like, that's the NHLer, Matt Bolesky. And I just literally, straight away, I looked at Tom and I said, well, he must be on the 4th line because he is terrible. He is absolutely terrible. And it was literally the most unprofessional thing I've done.
Yeah.
And I absolutely gave it to him, and I apologized to him. It was a couple of weeks later, I had to eat some humble pie, and I went round to the Coventry dressing room and I was like, oh, hi, sorry, Mr. Bolesky, I didn't mean to act like that. It was unprofessional. Yeah, I certainly found out who he was later that season, because he ended up lighting it up in the NHL playoffs for the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. And yeah, he was on a massive scoring streak, and yeah, it was like, yeah, I know who you are now, and I had to eat a bit of humble pie. But yeah,
the thing is, though, is that's the best way to officiate, is to not know who people are and not give other people the rope or whatever just because of who they are. Is that's better, that you don't know who they are and you treat everybody the same way. And I think everybody should be treated the same way because we're all just normal folks.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, he accepted the apology, and we got on so well after that. And you know, I've had the pleasure of being on the ice with so many great NHL players. McKenna, who used to play for Pittsburgh, used to be on the same line as Mario Lemieux. Scotty Nichols, who played for the New Jersey Devils, a centre. He played in London. Obviously, we had Eric Cairns. There was a player years and years and years ago that played for Cardiff, I think for 1 month, Travis Brigley, who was just phenomenal. I think he played for Calgary and he got dropped and he was sent over, and Cardiff picked him up. And he went back and signed for the Colorado Avalanche, but he was a phenomenal player.
Well, you'd been on the ice with a lot of good hockey players over the years. When did you start this? How long you been in the EIHL, or the top league of the UK?
I started officiating and playing when I was 14. I sort of started officiating when I was late 14, early 15, and then at 16 I started doing the top level of British ice hockey then. And I got
sorry, what, 16?
16, yeah. And I actually went to all the guys know this story. But
that's 30 years ago.
Yeah, in
Matt?
1993, I got chosen to do the senior semi-final at Wembley. It was on a Friday night, and it was the Cardiff Devils against, I believe it was the Murrayfield Racers, and it was the first ever shutout at Wembley. Cardiff won 9-0. Jason Wood was in goal. If there's a lot of old hockey fans from Cardiff, they'll probably remember that night.
And so now, yeah, geez, thought we were almost over. But like, you've been part of British hockey history from the start, and like, it's weird thinking of like Canada and like these teams are 100 years old and the original 6 and whatever, but like when you talk about Cardiff Devils history, or you talk about UK hockey history, like you say Murrayfield Racers, and like, yeah, I get that, that's Edinburgh, right? And they're there.
Yeah.
And like the history isn't that old, it isn't that long ago, and you've been a part of like all of it, eh?
Yeah, I have, and it's a massive part of my life, Wally, and you know, I hope it continues for many more years. You know, yeah, it's very hard to, when you're being a part of something for so long, you know, to think that it won't happen again. You know.
What do you want me to say to that? Did you hear what you just said?
Yeah,
that was what happened to me. And then you go back to the real world and you try to be somebody else. You try to, you get better at doing other things, but then you miss.
I know. Yeah, and that's the thing that people will never understand. You know, the amount of players that I've got so many relationships with, you know, that I've seen come and go, you know, and I always, you know, I've had so much. When I broke my leg, I had so many players, fans, coaches, people that you probably wouldn't expect reach out to you and wish you the best, you know, and wish you, you know,
and then
so
and then you realize what you're doing is important, right?
Yeah, and it's a great feeling. It's an amazing feeling, and we all love this sport, and it's great.
Yeah, and you know, everybody's got to find their spot in the game, right? And I had lost my spot in the game. I didn't really have one, and I found that again, and coaching the kids around here, yeah, I fit in the game again, right? And it means a lot when it's, like you said, it's a massive part of your life, right?
Yeah, it is.
And that's how you get picked up at Heathrow by Deano, right? By making new friends in your shed. Because hockey is important, and there's relationships that like they'll last a lifetime because we were all on the ice together having fun, right?
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. You know, we go out there, we do our jobs, and, you know, no matter what happens in the heat of the moment of the game, at the end of it, most of the players will come up and say, well done, good job, you know, even knowing they may have just lost, you know, they will always come and say, you know, great. And to be honest, I even at playoff finals weekends, I even when I'm not officiating the games, I wish both teams good luck. You know, because they're all fighting for something.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's that moment after the game that like you get to have with your teammates that you worked so hard for.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you can see how much it means to players as well, just as much as it does officials. I remember the first game that when I was talking to you about the semi-finals, and I'd done my first playoff final in Nottingham. I've never said this to anybody, and nobody would know. But at the end of the game, I can't remember who the final was against. I'm useless with teams and scores and stuff like that.
Me too.
I remember the game finished, and I was stood on the ice, and I think it was Tom Darnell was the linesman, and it was Maury Hanson was the referee. And I was looking around the arena, you know, Simply the Best was playing, or Queens, We Are the Champions, and I just thought to myself, wow, I've just officiated this final. And I remember they'd done all the presentations, and we get off the ice first, and we got off on the away bench. And as I walked down, there was a slight little corridor as you get off behind the benches. And Andy Dalton, who's a fantastic official, was stood there, and he shook my hand. And as I turned the corner, I shook his hand, and I burst into tears and was literally crying, full of just emotion, because of what it meant for me to officiate that level of game and get in my first final. You know, when people think we just go out there and just do our job and just go home, and it doesn't mean anything, but it meant so much. And I got into the dressing room, and all the guys and that were in bits. And, you know, I was just, so chuffed.
Stop it. Hey, stop it. It's the same with me in my shed. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, but I'm working really hard, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like when I'm ranked top couple in the UK, when I'm up there with the biggest podcast in the world. Yeah, I'm working harder than them. I have no marketing team. I have nobody. I have friends. I have a hockey family around the world that
makes it all possible.
Yeah, that I call them, and they're like, of course I'll come on for you. And I'm like, holy shit. Then I got Sean Collins making me a website. I got Lee Freeman making me posters, and it's all because I have a hockey family. And so when I post like I'm near the top of the rankings, well, nobody has any idea what that means to me walking out to my shed, you know?
And honestly, Wally, it's so great.
Fuck you.
No, honestly, do you know what? This is what it's
Sorry,
all about.
I missed doing that. I had to do that one more time. Fucking
no,
wrong.
but honestly,
bad call.
Hey, no, honestly, it's like you're doing a great job with all these podcasts. You get so many amazing people on there, and you know, it's great. It's great to have you back out there doing all this and getting us all together. And you know what? I want to come back and do it again and again and again.
And that's all I want to do is, like you talk about Beresford texting you today, and it's like when I hear about how it's bringing people together, like that's what I love doing, is having fun and enjoying life. And when I hear about people, you start texting with people about hockey stuff, it puts a smile on your face. When people text me about hockey, and like Pigs is texting me like, I think that's me. I think he's putting his package in my face. That makes me laugh. And I'm like, okay, so that's you that he's grinding on. I'm like, okay, well that's hilarious. And it makes my day. And I didn't have that for 5 years, right? So like now every day I'm getting messages, and like I'm doing my real job, and we're doing good there. And it's just every day is a good day for living. And it's because of my hockey family, you know? So thanks everyone.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Shit. This has been another episode of Zero Ales and Hockey Tales with Younger and Wally.